Well, hello, it's your friendly fishmonger, Dan, from dansfish.com, doing another species profile today, and today we're going to talk about Limia nigrofasciata, the black-banded Limia, is what the scientific name means, but we call them the humpback Limia because the males get this big old hump on their backs. So let's take a look and we'll talk about them. Thanks for joining in. Alright, here's some of the babies of the humpback Limias that I've got. I have a big group of them in here. Let's see if we can see them all. They're kind of hanging out in the plants and stuff, so they're a little bit hard to see, but there's probably, I don't know, between 60 and 80 of them in here. They're really hardy fish, easy to breed, easy to keep, and yeah, this is what the fry look like. These are, maybe a week old or so. When the fry are born, they're pretty darn big, and they're super easy to feed and keep and raise because they're already so big when they're born that they're easy to feed. They're eating a lump of rapashi down there. That's what that is on the bottom of the tank. I also feed them baby brine shrimp, crushed flake foods, crushed pellet foods, microworms, pretty much anything that's small, they'll go ahead and eat. So simple fish to raise. They do really well, and yeah, they grow pretty darn quick too. So anyway, that's what the babies look like, and this is how I keep them. I just keep them in a tank with some plants, bare bottom with a sponge filter, and that's pretty much all they require. And now we're looking at some of the adults of the humpback Limias, or limas, depending on who you're talking to. I think they're beautiful. They're not the gaudy color that some of your swordtails and platies and guppies and stuff are, but they have a really neat pattern, and something that doesn't get captured well on film or in pictures is the bright iridescence they have. You're getting a little bit of it. You can see a little bit of the sparkle on the sides, but they're a very iridescent kind of flash to them, which is really pleasing when you see them up close and live. And I love how when they court, the males will spread their dorsal fin, and that contrasts nice to black on the lemon yellow. And again, not the flashiest fish, but I think that they're neat. They're a wild type live bearer, and what that means for folks that might not know is just that this is what they look like in the wild. They haven't been domesticated and altered to the point where they look really differently than they would if you just went and caught these in their natural habitat. Now, these are not wild fish. These are domestically bred farmed fish. So you're not impacting the wild population if you get them at dansfish.com. But either way, the difference is if you look at a wild type guppy, it's a fairly plain fish, but if you look at a fancy guppy in a store, it's very different. And so those are called domesticated strains. This is a wild type fish. They come from Haiti and the DR, the Dominican Republic, and they come from freshwater and brackish water environments, and because they can tolerate kind of a wide variety of water conditions, that's a clue that they're pretty hardy fish, and they really are. They're pretty hardy. Another thing about them is they're a generalist. They're an omnivore when it comes to diet, so they'll eat anything. They like a little bit of vegetable matter in the diet. They graze algae a lot, and so they need some vegetable matter in the diet. But they'll pretty much eat, both in the wild and in captivity, whatever is available. So they'll eat flakes, they'll eat pellets, they'll eat live food, they'll eat frozen food, they'll eat gel foods like rapashi. They'll pretty much eat anything that they can fit in their mouths. Super easy fish to feed. Same temperament as, say, platies, I would say. A lot more peaceful than swordtails. Nice big group of them, and you don't get any aggression at all, really. The only thing with almost all live bearers that you have to keep in mind is that the males are constantly trying to breed the females. They never quit. And so one thing is you never want a bunch of males and a single female if you can avoid it, because they'll just chase her and harass her trying to breed with her all the time. So ideally you can get a group where you can kind of spread that out a bit, so no single female is targeted too often. That's just something to keep in mind, not just with this fish, but with almost any of the live bearers that are out there. Now you can keep them in pairs, that's just fine. If you do that, if you don't have a group of them, or if you don't have several more females than you do your males, if you only have a couple males, then I would really suggest some hiding places for the females, some plants or some decorations that break up the sight lines so that the females can get away a little bit, and just keep an eye on them. And if you do notice them getting too harassed, then you should probably separate them. Otherwise, the female will be burning a lot of energy trying to escape the male all the time, and she'll lose weight, and she's probably going to be pregnant as well, and so she'll be losing weight while she's trying to, well, they don't really raise the babies in the womb like humans do, but they do have to produce eggs, which takes a lot of energy. So just keep an eye on the females. Now, apart from that, they're a peaceful fish. You can keep them with almost anything else that's also peaceful and that can't end up in their mouth, or vice versa. I haven't tried them with long-tailed guppies or anything like that, so I'm not quite sure if they would nip like fan-tailed guppies and things, but anything that doesn't have really long flowing fins and is peaceful and of appropriate size, I think they're going to do great with. Now, they don't like really soft acidic water, and for anyone that knows, I have really soft water, so they like it a little harder, and they like brackish. As long as you keep it super clean, you won't have any problems. But if you have soft water and you let the water quality deteriorate at all, you'll start noticing some problems. So if you have soft water, just keep that in mind. You can keep them, but you have to really keep the water clean. If you have hard water, or harder water, or you have a brackish water tank or anything like that, these would probably do just fine. And most of the nation does have hard water, so it's not that big of a deal. What else can I say about these guys? Oh, gestation on these guys is a little bit longer. If you breed guppies or swordtails, or you're used to that, those, that's what, 20 days, 21 days-ish. These guys can be quite a bit longer. They can be up to 2 months on the gestation. So they breed a little bit slower, but when the babies are born, they're surprisingly large for the size of the females. The fish I have right now are half grown, maybe 3/4 grown. They can get up to 2.5 inches or so, and my biggest one is maybe 2 inches, maybe slightly under 2 inches. And they're breeding just fine at this young size. They're not having really large litters, but when they do throw a batch of fry, it's a pretty big, not a big batch of fry, but each of the babies is good sized. They are very easy to feed when they're babies. Something I do want to mention about raising the babies is that I showed you the tank where I keep the babies. If you notice, it's a bare bottom tank, but there's quite a bit of mulm on the bottom, and I found that to be very helpful raising, especially this species. I have a rack of breeding tanks. They're bare bottom 5.5 gallon tanks that are kept pretty darn clean. They have floating water sprite in them, a Hamber Matten kind of sponge filter system, and that's about it. And this species does not do well in that setup, and I have no idea why. All I know is that when I keep them in a tank that has quite a bit of mulm on the bottom, they do really well as babies. If I keep them in a pretty clean tank, then they just die off gradually. The only thing I can think of is that the babies like to kind of sift through that mulm and eat it constantly, and that helps keep them growing. But it's a little bit of a puzzle to me, because I've grown many types of live bears in the 5.5 gallon, kind of really clean system, and never had a problem. But this is one species where I can't raise the babies in that system. But when I put them in another tank that's a little dirtier, if you will, mulm on the bottom, maybe some leaves in there and things, they do just fine. They grow and they thrive. So that, if you're having trouble keeping the babies and raising them, you might want to consider that. That might be a hint that could help. Anyway, Limia nigrofasciata, beautiful fish, the humpback Limia. If you're interested in them, there's a lot of literature out there, and in my opinion, they don't disappoint. All right, I hope you liked that species profile on the Limia nigrofasciata, or the humpback limia, or lima, sometimes we call them. I don't have enough good things to say about this fish. They're peaceful, they're active, they have a unique pattern. One of my favorite live bearers, something you don't see all the time. So if you're into live bearers but want something different, this might be worth looking into more. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'm always happy to respond and we can get a dialogue going. And until next time, this is Dan from dansfish.com, wishing you a great day.